I wanted to measure your success as an employee, what matters most. Welcome to this week's live. Now, last year we made a lot of content, but this year we're going live every single week.
We go live every single week?
Yeah, dude, that's what we need to do to dominate this industry. Guys, follow us on every social platform, subscribe on YouTube. Now let's get into this week's episode and head into the studio.
What's up, guys? I'm Alex. I'm the sales manager here at Mylan Media, and I've been in the B2B sales world for years now, and I'm here to share with you some of the key habits that separate top sales professionals from the rest. So I'll kind of go through. This one's going to be a little bit of quicker of a live. I'm going to try and shoot for 20 minutes. I feel like some of our lives are a little bit long. So try and keep your attention for 20 minutes, try and give you some things, some of these that you're going to realize that you probably are utilizing because they're probably the base of what makes you a sales guy, that makes you at least have your job and not get fired from it. Because if you aren't doing some of these just, on the minimum, you should not be a salesperson. But also I'm going to share some things with you that can take your career to that next step, to that next level. And potentially, if you guys are a young sales guy out there, turning yourself into a closer. A high-ticket closer. That's what every sales guy wants to be. So it matters because today's landscape is really difficult. It's becoming more and more difficult as we're going through marketing. Every company out there is marketing. Every company out there is producing videos. So having that top sales guy that's able to, have a robust pipeline and really sign consistent deals is really important. And that's what's going to separate you from the rest. If you're a C sales guy, you're barely meeting your your quota every year, if not meeting it, because some people have, or some CEOs set high quota and they know realistically it's not going to be met. But if you're realistically only meeting your quota once or none throughout the year, then, maybe some of these things you should take a look at. So number one thing, and everyone's going to be saying the same thing when it comes to, having deals, is that consistent prospecting. Let's make sure that I actually have it right in here. So making sure that you're consistently prospecting. If you're looking around you and you're part of a large sales team and you're the only one that's in a slump, or there's a couple of you that are in slumps, that is going to be one of the big things that you can kind of look at and go, okay, I obviously haven't been consistently prospecting because other sales guys around me are doing well. They're signing deals. I'm here. I'm only, 50% of my quota, and the other people are, at 100% of my quota. If you look back at what you've done over the past 6 months, there's probably something that you've missed. You've probably had a week where you had a slump in prospecting. You had a week where you didn't do everything that you needed to do when it came to prospecting. And sometimes you'll feel it quicker, and sometimes you won't feel it for months. In the B2B landscape, especially, the decision-making process is a lot longer than what it is in, B2C. So if you 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago, slacked a little bit for 2 or 3 weeks on your prospecting, didn't do any sort of outreach, didn't do any sort of calls, you're really going to feel that. Again, you might not feel it the next day or the next week, but, if you look at what you've been doing and that, in December, I was very lackluster on my outreach because it was December. You're going to feel it in January, February time. So some of the key habits you need to do, I always say this, is block some time. So making sure that you're blocking time weekly to make sure that you are doing that prospecting, and making sure that you at least are doing a few hours of prospecting a month, or not a month, a week. Making sure that you are out there reaching out, finding new clients, making sure that you're out there hunting, not just utilizing your marketing team or relying on your marketing team to do all that outbound. Making sure you have a targeted list, or you have a list of clients that are your ICP, your ideal customer profile, and that you want to go, okay, these are the guys that want to hunt. I have a list of 100 companies that I go, okay, I hit these companies. It's my weekly outreach that I'm doing because I hit these companies, and these are the companies that I know can come and do good business with us, aren't going to be, a low spender, are in that, ideal customer profile, as I keep saying. And I go out there and I hammer them until they tell me no. And even if one person tells me no, I will go throughout the company, unless that is the major decision maker, like a CEO or a CFO or something like that, that is saying like, no, we're not going to be doing this. But if I get a no from, a sales manager, maybe going to a sales director, just to feel it out until I get the whole company basically is like, nope, don't want to do business with you, then I move on. But having those, blocking that time and having that list of clients that I want to do business with, and I'm going to hammer them until they tell me no. Using multi-channel approach when you guys are going and doing that prospecting, making sure that you're not only on email, you're not only sitting there calling them, that you're doing all of it, that you're shooting them an email, that you're following them on LinkedIn or social media, whatever the social media might be that you guys are out there on, whether you're trying to send those emails, even sometimes going to events that that they're going to be at, whether that be a trade show, whether that be a bar night. If you're, one of those local B2B guys, make sure that you're going out to events that that these potential partners or these potential clients could be going out to. We're in Austin, Texas, so I'm going out to a lot of the technology events that they have going on because I know they're going to be decision makers there. And if they see you there actually doing and learning, they have a more or higher propensity to purchase from you in the future. So yeah, and then making sure that you're setting up and tackling those weekly goals that you have. Say you have a goal of a certain amount of outreach, certain amount of emails, certain amount of calls per week, and making sure that you hit that consistently and exceed that. Minimum hitting it, and then hopefully on the majority of your weeks exceeding that, because again, the more outreach you do, the more leads that you have in, the more deals that are going to be signed. The fatter the pipeline you have that are within, again, your ideal customer profile. You don't want to have a pipeline that's fat with people that are not qualified or not, within the space that you are wanting to sell within. But having a fat pipeline will increase your commission on a month-to-month basis. All right, number 2. How do we scroll? There we go. Mastering the art of discovery. So your discovery call is your handshake. A lot of discovery calls now, whatever you guys call it, discovery calls, introductory call, your discovery call is your handshake. It's your digital handshake. You might have been reaching out and speaking to them over DMs on LinkedIn or emails back and forth before you got them to agree to a discovery call. Or hey, you may have met them at a trade show. However, this is going to be the first time that you're really going to have your clients or your prospects 100% attention. So you need to make sure that you master the art of discovery, that you know what questions need to be answered in order for you to put together a successful proposal. Because if you're going in and you finish your discovery call and then all of a sudden you're going to your to create a proposal, you get an RFQ, you get that request for quote, and you're starting to go through there and create that proposal, and then you're having to come back and ask them a lot of questions, it's going to look, don't get me wrong, there should be times and there will be times that you'll have to email them and ask them a question or two. But if you can't do most or at least 90% of the proposal based off of the discovery call that you have created, and it might not be the first discovery call, you might have, more time to meeting, but once they go, I'm ready for a quote, you should have all the information that you need. You should have at least 90 to 95% of the questions answered for you to be able to fill out that proposal so that they understand what you're doing and they understand what they're getting done by you. So it's important. Questions. The questions are going to be the thing. There are never enough questions. You don't want to necessarily be the only one talking when it comes to that, and you don't want to be the necessarily only one asking questions. So if your prospect isn't asking questions, maybe you haven't given them enough information for them to ask questions because they have so many going on in their head. Or hey, maybe you've done just enough where you've given them all the information that they need, and good for you, but I'm going to assume 99% of the time that a client or a prospect doesn't have a question. It means that they're probably confused or they don't want to come across as dumb because they think that based off the information that you've given them, that they should know the answer. You want to create that sort of easy conversation where they are asking questions. As soon as they're asking questions about you, you can start asking questions about them, and then it's that rapport that is built. Again, listen more than you talk. It should be a 70-30 split. The questions that you should be asking should not be one-word answers from them. You should be trying to get, a detailed explanation. If, for example, I ask, being a marketing team, how many sales guys do you have? If they go 5, I'm going to respond with a follow-up question. Hey, are those 5 sales guys full-time? How are they broken out? You need to ask those follow-up questions to make sure that you have all that information, because then again, when you're creating that quote, it's going to be really easy for you. Number 3, going into leveraging data and technology. So making sure, CRM systems are very important. All the data that you can have, that if you are consistently filling out your CRM system, is going to be very useful. I have 30 or 40 deals in my pipeline currently, and I can't keep track of even some of the names of my potential clients until I look through my CRM system and remember my notes, because there is so much going on a day-to-day basis. I have clients of mine that are in a nurture pipeline that are deciding Q2. I have some that have just come in. So making sure that you're leveraging the technology that you have. If you're not implementing a CRM system of any kind, you know that we push HubSpot pretty hard here, but if you could need to be utilizing some form of CRM system, because you need to be keeping your leads in one space so that your prospecting, again, what I said on the first one, coming up to your prospecting is easier because you have tasks set up. You're not coming into an Excel spreadsheet and looking at everything going, okay, where do I even start? And if you're a sales leader and your sales team does not have a CRM system, you are not setting them up for success. You are hindering their ability to do the nitty gritty, and you're also making them do tasks that are not necessary to be done. You're wasting their time. You're wasting hours of theirs a week that they could be actually out there selling and getting in front of those customers if you don't have a CRM system. So look into it. If you're out there and you're even considering a CRM system, look into all of them. Even if you are low cost and you need a low cost, CRM system, making sure that there are options out there. I was about to get on a tangent there, Justin, about CRM systems, because I just talked to a client recently that was very against CRM systems, and I could not, no matter what I said or showed him, couldn't show him enough. He goes, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's like the sales guy that was in there was very much, I need this, but the sales leader, because he had never used a CRM system, just was not about it. He goes, I was successful without one, so he expects his team to be successful without one as well, but everybody else around them's using one. So, all right. Sorry, didn't mean to get off on a tangent there. So again, I'm just going to put CRM system here because that's going to be one of the big, data and tech. I could go into a bunch of different things that, you could be utilizing, but a CRM system at the bare minimum here. Again, trying to keep these labs a little bit shorter. Number 4, resilience and mental toughness. There's jokes out there that sales is one of the hardest jobs, and I would venture to say there are not many tougher jobs out there. And when I say tougher, I don't mean physically where you're coming home and your hands are beat up, you're bleeding, you've got, bruises all over you. I'm talking about that mental toughness. If you sit there and you have mental toughness and you're able to move on from those defeats and you're able to learn from those no's and you're able to sit there and keep progressing even when you hit walls, you will be a successful salesperson. There are too many sales guys out there. I sit there and I'm consulting and I'm speaking with some of these sales guys that take those losses and it rocks them for weeks. I actually just had a client of ours that is overseas, and funnily enough, I'm sitting there and I laugh about it because I was speaking with one of them, and apparently overseas, getting 2 months off for, being overwhelmed is a normal thing. That is not the case, and that is not the case here. We all know that is not the case here in America. If you are, overwhelmed or everything like that, take some PTO, take a day or two off, because that mental toughness is key. Imagine if a sales guy decided to take 2 months off. Oh, nope, didn't get that deal. It's really upset me. I'm going to take 2 months off, or I'm going to take even 2 days off because I'm so upset about this deal. Again, the consistency in prospecting going to take a dip. You start, every time you get a no, you start, slumping a little bit. That's going to start adding up where you're going to have months over the year that you have not been doing all the prospecting that you need and reaching out. And that's just going to, start piling on top of each other, and you're just not going to have those deals. So resilience and mental toughness. View rejection as feedback and not failure. Unless somebody's come up to you and been like, you're the shittiest sales guy, or the crappiest sales guy that I've ever come across, there is going to be something that you can learn from there. Even if they come across and say that, there is going to be something that you can learn. It could be your first deal, and these people could be like, this guy has no idea what it's doing. Take it as a learning curve. Listen to what they had to say, because even if they do have a lot of things that you don't necessarily agree upon, they might be viewing you as an outside partner looking in on a way that you're not able to view yourself. So potentially other clients or prospects are viewing you the same way. So take heed to what they say. But don't take it too close to heart, because everybody's going to view you differently. I have some people that love me, and I have some people that probably hate me out there, and I guarantee you there might be one of them watching here. Again, I've talked about it before, developing a reset process after these losses. So I'm just going to put that here because this is probably going to be the thing that I say leads to my most success, is having that reset process. Sometimes that's coming in. Sometimes I do it to Kyle. Sometimes I come into Kyle and I have to, come in and get really agitated about the situation for 1 or 2 minutes. And he knows sometimes I'm just venting, but guess what? I'm ready to go back at it again. Give me 5 minutes to, throw a little bit of a pity party for myself that I didn't get this deal because of X, Y, and Z, but I'm back at it. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for that next discovery call. I'm ready to crank out that next email, do those cold calls, because I just take that as, all right, on to the next one. Because if you have that mentality and you just go on to the next, you will sign more deals and you will have bigger commission and your company will just keep growing. All right, last one. I kept this nice and quick. I think this might be the quickest live I've ever done, and we're going to keep them this quick because I feel like it's just win-win for everybody. Always be learning. And when I say always be learning, I mean always be learning. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be out there, reading textbooks, going out there, making sure that, you understand every single aspect of everything within your industry. I mean, always be learning by, sometimes even just reading a book, listening to podcasts, because we are sales guys. If you have a lot of things that you can talk about, fishing, you don't necessarily have to be a fisherman, fishing, golfing, soccer, if you are somebody that knows at least a decent amount or is at least dangerous in most things, that's how you're going to build rapport. And also learning in the space, understanding, when you're going after key clients, what their key pain points are, what their products are utilized for, what their services are utilized for, because you'll find similar clients. There's always competitors out there. If you learn about one client, guess what? A competitor could be right around the corner that does the same thing that you're knowledgeable on, that you're able to touch base with on, that you're able to speak intelligently to that engineer, to that salesperson, to that marketing person, whoever that you're selling to within that company. And that's going to, again, build that rapport. Stay ahead of industry trends. Sign up for, I have multiple, what would you call them? Email blasts that I'm signed up to, like Manufacturing Dive. And again, this is not, I'm not supported by them, but some of these that, send out emails about trends that are happening, about, things that are happening within your industry. Make sure that you read those, even if it's just reading the main 3, topics that they're talking about and, going through and clicking through those articles, because those are really very likely to be talking points that you're able to address. If you have a service that, provides with the supply chain issue, if you have a service that fixes a lot of those issues, understanding what the supply chain issues are and how they're affecting, the given industrial or B2B market, people are going to want to buy from you because they're going to be like, wow, he already has a thing in place for this issue that I'm having and has already been utilizing it, and customers have already been utilizing it, and it's easy. I just want to end it now, Justin, just because it's quick. We did a quick job. So I'm going to do quick break here in a second. I don't know if we have any Q&A. Do we have any Q&A? Are we doing a break? What are we doing, Justin? Yeah, we'll go on a break. If you have any questions, shoot it down in the bottom. I'm going to do a new thing, Justin. There's probably only like one person watching, but we got some? All right. We're going to do a new thing for my live. We're going to do questions for Kyle. Again, I had this last time. If you can come up with a question that can stump me, that I then have to bring to Kyle, and it stumps him, you get a free Yeti. So let's see the questions. We'll be back. All right. Apparently, we have one question, and it's from Kyle. Kyle, you don't get the Yeti, if you stump me and you stump yourself, but I don't think you're going to ask a question that's going to stump yourself, but I wouldn't be surprised if you asked a question that potentially stumped me. But let's hear it.
All right. So, when you are in a slump and haven't closed a deal, what is your go-to move to boost your morale?
I see why Kyle's asked that. There's a multitude of different ways that I go about it. I would say one of the biggest ways is to really kind of take a step back, especially if it's been one of those slumps that's, it's been a long time, it may have been a whole quarter of a slump. I've learned, especially from Kyle, actually, funnily enough, to take a step back and really look at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, really taking a look back and going back to the roots of what sales is. On a day-to-day basis, you guys have 1,000 different things that you're trying to do, and sometimes you get too tied up with all these little things and you're not doing the core. So taking a step back, looking at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis to see whether you are prospecting daily, whether you have mastered discovery, whether you're using data, updating your CRM system, whether you have that mental resilience, and then whether you're never stopping learning. All these recaps, or this little recap that I have here, are ways to go about also looking at these slumps. I also like to go about, I like to go and shoot guns. So that's one of the big things that I like to go and do after that. And also playing golf. It could be anything. And if you're at that point where you're in a slump and you just can't, you can't figure it out, you can't get it out, maybe take a step back, maybe sit there, after work where it's quiet or at home, and really kind of take a look. I know nobody wants to take work home, but realistically, if you're not taking work home, sometimes you're not going to get ahead. So maybe sometimes sitting there while you're having a drink, while you're talking with friends, maybe talking with friends. I rely a lot of the time on the people that I view as leaders, whether that be Kyle, sometimes it is my dad, sometimes it's people within here, sometimes it's people within, the company that I work for. I tend to lean on because sometimes they're able to look at it from an outside view in and able to maybe point me in a direction that can help. I'm one of the older people in this company. I use some of the youngest people in here because they are able to sit there and push things in front of me and show me ways to go about things that I might not necessarily have thought about. So a long, convoluted way to answer Kyle's question because there's just so many ways that you can go about.
We got 3 more questions.
Oh, whoa. Are they from people within MFG Tribe?
No.
Oh, wow.
Oh. All right.
Because they're going to try and stump me now just because they think that they're going to get a Yeti.
All right, so we got one from, I believe it's pronounced Sai, S-A-I.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How encourage sales team to use social media to talk about the brand, and what are the best practices to increase their network or sales at the end?
There's a multitude of different ways. When I say multitude, again, I always say there's a lot of different ways because there are different ways. You really need to understand your sales team. If it's one of those that sometimes they react well, we've had clients in the past that are trying to get their sales team to post consistently, and they do little drawings where it's every month. Hey, every month we do a drawing. Every time you post on social media, your name gets put in this drawing for a Yeti cooler or something like that. Realistically, if they're real sales guys out there, if they're really hungry, you just showing them that this is another avenue for them to make money and increase their commission and increase their pipeline, they should be jumping on it. If they're not jumping on it and they're not hungry and looking at it and they don't believe that this is an avenue that can, increase their commission and increase their sales, I would be a little bit wary, honestly, because if you're not out there, we all know that social media works, even if you're in B2B, even if you're in industrial, which is probably one of the ones where social media is probably thought of the least. The amount of deals that I get through my social media, about 50% of my leads come through my social media. I know I'm sitting here consistently posting. I know I've got Justin able to sit here and do some of the videos, but even before I was doing these professional videos, I was connecting with people. I was opening up conversations on LinkedIn, having those company posts, reposting those company posts at a bare minimum, because it gets the information out there. And if you are requesting and you are within your industry, there are going to be people that are going to ask you questions and open up that rapport. So, just showing them, or even, if you look it up and you just show them how much of an opportunity this is for them to increase their pipeline, they should be jumping at it.
I'm going to attempt to use this mic. All right. All right, cool.
Boom.
Okay.
Next question.
So we do. Oh, I got to turn myself up. There we go. Okay, so we have a question from Midnight Doxology Podcast. This is a good question.
Doxology.
Let's see.
I hope this is not going to be a difficult one. It sounds like it is. It sounds like a really ominous name.
Yeah, we'll see.
I like it.
I like the question though.
All right.
Yeah. For someone new to industrial sales, coming from a one-call close industry, what are some one-liners I can use to create urgency?
Man, this is not the first time that I've asked this question. So you really can't. When I say one-liners to create some sense of urgency, you know, with industrial and B2B, you know, those one-call closes and creating that urgency is, you're in a totally different game here at this point. Sometimes you have to really understand that industrial people don't get into that cheesy stuff. If you try and create too much urgency for them, they will turn off and go, nope, I don't want to do this anymore. So you got to kind of find that happy medium where you're going, okay, the sense of urgencies right now is what's going on with, you know, tariffs, what's going on in supply chain issues, what's going on with that. There's really no one-liners that are going to work consistently throughout industrial or even throughout B2B space, because there are many different things that people are going to have as pain points. So if you have done your research and you understand kind of what their pain points are, you're not even going to need one-liners to use. You can just use the information that you have provided to them to create that sense of urgency. Again, if it's a supply chain issue, if you have a product or a service that fixes that, just showing them that, being like, hey, I know this is an issue that you're probably encountering. This is how we solve this with my product or service. That's all the one-liner that you need. You don't need any of those cheesy, you know, I call them car salesman one-liners that you're trying to get out there, because it will turn them off, especially C-suite or above. Or above. I don't think there's anything above C-suite, but you know what I'm saying.
Okay. So for the next one, we got one from Kyle again.
Oh, he's gonna
All right.
stump me. He's gonna stump me.
All right, we got a lot of comments coming in.
Gotta
I'm
stump me.
seeing Tim Drinkwater
Oh, Tim!
back in the chat.
Tim! We've missed you, Tim.
Yes.
He's been cranking that machine out. It's been so cool. His podcasts, or not his podcasts, his lives too have been great. Although I haven't seen one recently. Where you been, Tim?
All right. So for one from Kyle, he says, "What is one fun fact about you that most people do not know?"
One fun fact about me that most people do not know. I used to be the aide for the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott.
All right. And then
You knew that, though.
yeah.
Most people here knew that.
All right. So we got one, Tim Drinkwater. He says, "Any tips to find balance in the part of sales role?" 1 second. Let's see, put that there. Okay. So he says, "Any tips to find balance in a part-time sales role, but not low C tracking of the sales effort?"
Repeat that question.
Let's see. There's throwing. Any tips to find balance in a part-time sales role, but not low C tracking of the sales effort?
Trying to think about what he's trying to say there, Justin. Tim, I'm a little confused on your question there. Maybe try and reword it, or maybe Kyle can understand.
There you go.
Let me read it. Yeah, maybe if I can read it. Let's see here. Oh, lose track of the sales efforts. Okay, yes. Okay. So that part-time sales role and not losing track of those efforts. If you have a CRM system, Tim, I'm not sure if you have a CRM system, but if you have a CRM system, you're able to sit there again and keep track of that. You know, even if that is a part-time sales guy that's coming in and being, you know, a rep of sorts. I'm assuming you're kind of meaning somebody that's going to be a rep or something similar, where they're out there, you know, selling your service part-time as well as others. What was the beginning of the question again? Because I was going into not losing the track of the metrics.
So you should find any tips to find balance.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know, utilizing them as that part-time salesperson. You know, sometimes what they're doing is, you know, going to be monotonous because they are the part-time sales guy, and whether they are being a rep and actually out there representing multiple different aspects, you know, multiple different companies or services or products. If they're actually an actual part-time rep or a part-time sales guy that's only coming in, you know, 20 hours a week or something like that, they should be just as hungry as a full-time rep. They should be out there going, even though I'm only working here 20 hours a week, I can still make a commission of a full-time sales guy if I work hard enough. And that's one of the things that I would say, and making sure that you don't lose those tracks of those metrics as well, making sure that you follow, making sure that if they even have a quota, even if they are a part-time sales guy going, look, you have a quota. If it's, they're working 20 hours a week instead of 40, maybe halving their quota, but, having some sort of, bonus quota, everything that you would do for a normal sales guy, you can do with a part-time sales guy and still get, what you need out of them. Because again, if you're hiring the right part-time sales guy that's hungry, that wants to learn, that wants to, get that commission, because as sales guys really are deep down out there is providing a service and, getting that commission. I love providing a service or a product for somebody that fits and works because it just makes me look awesome. I feel like I'm, fanning my own ego over here, but it makes me look awesome. I prefer that even over the commission, because then people are just talking about, hey, this company or this product or Alex provided me this service and it is really knocking it out of the park. I'll trade that over the $10,000 commission any day of the week. But yeah, again, doing the same things that you do with your normal sales guys should be, very good.
Awesome. Sorry, Tim, for butchering your question. All right. So we got another one from Tim Drinkwater. He says, sorry, been a minute since I've been around, but hoping to get back on track.
Yeah, we like that, Tim.
Yeah, that new mic sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all Justin.
Thank you. All right, so
I
then...
can do some beatboxing. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so we got one from... I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I don't know if we get it right, but thank you for creating this channel. It's been very informative. How can I land my first job in industrial sales? I have a strong background in customer service, but very limited in sales.
It's easy. If you can go out there and you can just sell yourself. I mean, you've already dealt with, the customer aspect, the customer service aspect of it, where you kind of understand half of what sales is. You understand that a customer has problems, has issues. Being able to sit there, even if you haven't done it, necessarily in industrial space, but understanding that there is a potential client coming to you to fill a problem that they have. Just like in customer service, there's a customer that has already bought something coming to you that has a problem with your product, and hopefully you have a solution to that. So now you're the sales guy. So now you're that first line of, okay, you're coming with me with a problem. Let me fix that, whether it be one of the products or one of the services that I have to offer. You're in real prime opportunity there to really launch yourself into that. Look into it, making sure that you go after, some of those. If you're really looking for a sales career in industrial, go into machinery, go into, some of those big ticket items. That's what I would recommend to go and do, because that's where you're going to learn the most. You're going to get the most out of it. And you're also going to be able to create channels and create those relationships that really work across all of industrial, and not just all of industrial, all of B2B. Are we good, Justin?
I have a question.
What is your question, Justin?
So, say I'm not into sales, but I'm interested in the field. What are some things I could practice in my everyday life that will get me ready to get into sales? Just like small stuff.
Yeah. I said it on the last time when we were on one of the last videos that we shot that Justin created an awesome video for me for, is that, I always did it when I was out there in high school and college and stuff like that. Talk to people, talk to random people. If someone looks at you and makes eye contact, you're sitting there at even at the airport, you're sitting there, you're walking through security. Those TSA people, everybody says, TSA people. I make friends with TSA people. I know that sounds super weird, but if you're polite to them and you just ask and talk to them and ask them questions, they open up to you. 90% of people will open up to you if you just sit there and talk to them. If you're not unless you're weird about it, if you walk up and sit next to them and just look at them and start talking, but that natural, like, you made eye contact, you're sitting next to each other, you can give them the kind of like, hey, what are you doing? You're at a bar. Oh, hey, what do you do for a living? What brings you here if they're traveling? Just going out and really talking to people, because that's all sales realistically is being able to talk and listen, but also being able to proactively listen. You're not just sitting there listening to a story. It's something where you're able to listen to the whole story that they're having to say, listen to the whole problem that they're having to say, and provide a solution. Or when you're out there, just shooting the shit with somebody, providing a story that's similar. Oh, I've done that, or oh, never have I ever been in that situation before. Because as soon as you're comfortable with talking to people, that's the biggest hump when it comes to sales. You could put me in a room with anybody. You could put me in a room with, the most famous person you've ever met in your entire life, and I would be just as comfortable as I was talking with Justin here. Because It might be partially because of my background, but it's because everybody is interesting in and of themselves. And if you ask those questions and you're just comfortable with speaking to people, sales will just fall into your lap at that point.
I think we're good. That was great.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much, guys, for showing up, joining. Tim, Kyle, everybody that was out there, thank you so much. I'm going to try and keep these live shorter like this. I know this one went a little bit longer than I thought it was going to go, but it's still shorter than our previous one, so we'll just keep getting it shorter and shorter. If you guys got any questions, if you guys are watching the recap of this, got any questions, put them in the chat or put them in the comments down below. Make sure you're following me, Kyle, and the team that's out there on LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere. All these social medias, we're out there, and make sure that you tune into the next one. I think next week we've got one with Kyle, correct?
Yep.
Yep, we got one next week with Kyle, so be sure to be there, and thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week.